everybody out in Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District. It's your Congressman, Jamie Raskin, coming to you today. It is Monday, April the 7th. Welcome to our 2025 Tax Season Resources and IRS Information Session for all you taxpayers out there. I'm joined by Nicole Jackson, who is not just a native Marylander, but Maryland's acting local taxpayer advocate, and my amazing staffer, Erica Fuentes, in my Rockville district office, who's going to be moderating our conversation and steering the ship today. The 2025 tax season officially began on February the 5th, and most taxpayers have until Tuesday, April 15th, to submit their 2024 returns and to pay all of your owed taxes. Taxpayers who cannot file in time may indeed request an extension before the April 15th deadline, but please be advised that an extension to file is not, I repeat, is not an extension to pay taxes. So the IRS recommends strongly that any taxes you owe be paid on time to avoid the imposition of any penalties or interest. So you need to pay the taxes you owe by April 15th, even if you get an extension for the filing of your tax returns. Look, you guys know how I feel about this. The American people deserve a headache-free tax filing experience. And I know that there are other countries where it's a lot easier to do it than it is to do it in America. And so I'm going to continue advocating for robust resources for the IRS and also for the improvements that we need to make it a simpler process. My staff and I will be closely tracking this year's tax season progress, and we will be continuing to look for opportunities to improve the tax filing process. Each year, the average taxpayer spends more than 13 hours doing all of this, and if you add up all the money that's spent, it's more than $250 per taxpayer to prepare their taxes. So that just doesn't make any sense. I support legislation that's called the Tax Filing Simplification Act, which would provide most Americans with a tax return that's prepared in advance for you by the IRS. Most taxpayers have just a W-2, and that's information that's already on file with the IRS. So this legislation says the IRS, they fill it out for you. They populate the different parts of your 1040. They send it to you. And then if you've got to add things, change things, whatever, you can do it, but they get it going. So this is how it's done in no less than 36 different countries that we research, including Germany, the UK, Japan, and the tax authorities calculate your original tax liability, and then taxpayers have a chance to review it, to make any changes, and then to pay the taxes they're owed. Now, taxpayers in Maryland can use direct file currently for the first time, which allows you to file your federal income tax online for free. I'm proud to say that Democrats in Congress made direct file possible as part of the Inflation Reduction Act that we voted for back in 2022. So I've been a strong advocate and defender of the direct file program, and I'm working with colleagues to extend it for the 2026 tax season and beyond. My staff in Rockville and I and my staff in Washington are always happy to answer any IRS-related questions along with others, and you can reach us at 301-345-1000. I now turn it over to Erica Fuentes to introduce our special guest. Thank you all for tuning in, and hang tough during these turbulent times, everybody, and I'll see you soon. All best.
Thank you, Congressman Raskin. My name is Erica Fuentes, and I am Congressman Raskin's Director of Constituent Service. I also have the privilege of handling a large portion of the IRS Constituent Service requests our office receives. I work closely with Ms. Nicole Jackson and her team of wonderful case advocates at the Baltimore TAS office throughout the year to solve hundreds of IRS issues for our MD08 constituents. Before I introduce our honored guest, I will give a quick overview of today's webinar. Today, we will hear a presentation from the IRS Taxpayer Advocate. that will provide us with vital information and tips for the 2025 tax filing season. I know that I personally will be taking notes because, to be truthful, I still haven't filed my taxes and the April 15th deadline is quickly approaching. We hope that this webinar will make you feel less nervous about filing your taxes this year. After the presentation, we will go into a question and answer period. We have selected several pre-submitted questions that were submitted with the registrations for this event. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. And with that, I am pleased to introduce Ms. Nicole Jackson. Quickly, I will read her bio. Ms. Jackson works for the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, in the Taxpayer Advocate Service office in Baltimore, Maryland, as the acting local taxpayer advocate. As the acting local taxpayer advocate, she is responsible for overseeing the mission of the Taxpayer Advocate Service to help taxpayers resolve problems with the IRS, identify administrative and legislative causes of these problems, while aiding the National Taxpayer Advocate with making recommendations to the IRS and Congress on ways to mitigate these issues. Nicole started her career with the IRS in 2001 as a customer service representative and has served in many capacities since then. Her career in customer service has provided the foundation for a successful transition into case advocacy. Nicole has had the pleasure of being a case advocate, lead case advocate, and frontline manager before her current role as the acting local taxpayer advocate. Nicole is the mother of two with whom she dotes on quite often. Nicole enjoys reading, spending time with family and friends, and she takes great pride in the opportunity to serve others. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Erica. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Well, as Erica stated, yes, we are going to have a presentation regarding pre-filing season tax tips. So I'm going to just get my presentation up to share with you guys. Let me get this up for you guys. Can you see it? Because I cannot. Can you see it, Erica?
Yes.
Okay,
All good.
awesome. Okay, great. All right. As I stated, we will review some of the most common errors that occur when filing your federal tax returns, and we will provide tips on how to avoid these pitfalls. So if you need help preparing your tax returns, here are some resources and information. So we have the free help. If you meet certain income qualifications, you can get free help from trained volunteers. The IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, what we call is VITA. And we have tax counseling for the elderly. Both of these programs are free for taxpayers who qualify. Now, for the VITA site, generally you have to make $60,000 or less. If you're a person with disabilities, or if you have limited English speaking, if you're a limited English speaking taxpayer, you can go to VITA for assistance with tax preparation. Now, you can go find their services at taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, or you can directly go to irs.gov, type in VITA, and what it will do is it will show you the available locations in your state. And that would be the same for the TCE program for the elderly. And to qualify for that, you have to be 60 years of age or older. And they specialize in questions about pensions and retirement related to issues unique to seniors. Now we also have IRS Free File. The IRS Free File program is a public-private partnership between the IRS and many tax return preparation and filing software industry companies. And they provide online tax return preparation for filing for free. It provides 2 ways for taxpayers to prepare and file their federal income tax returns online for free. It is a guided tax return preparation, and it's on an IRS partner site. So if you're interested, if you go to irs.gov and you check on Free File, they will direct you to one of the partner sites for further assistance. Now, to qualify, your adjusted gross income has to be $73,000 or less for this particular program. Now, they also have what we call the free fillable forms program with the free file. Now, that's not self-guided. Now, that is for taxpayers who are familiar with tax preparation, and they're just able to go ahead and complete the form online and have it submitted electronically for free. And this option is for taxpayers whose income is more than $73,000. Now, we also have what we call a new program with the IRS. It's called the IRS Direct File. IRS Direct File is a simple and easy way to file your taxes for free. You can use Direct File on your smartphone, your laptop, your tablet, or your desktop computer to file your taxes in English or in Spanish in as few as 30 minutes. Now, Direct File is not available in every state, but the good news is it is available in the state of Maryland. Now, we always have the option to electronically file, and you can use, software programs like TurboTax or TaxAct. But we are promoting Direct File because this is a free service. And we have estimated that it can save about $5.6 million in tax preparation fees. During the 2024 filing season, more than 3 million users have already checked to see if they are eligible to use the site. And over about 140,000 taxpayers have used the Direct File thus far. Now, there isn't an income limitation for the Direct File, but there are some requirements or eligibilities. So, for Direct File eligibility, the types of income that is accepted is wage income. That's income that you receive that's reported on a W-2. There's Social Security income. That's income that is reported on a Form 1099. There's unemployment compensation. That would be the Form 1099-G as in giraffe. Interest income. That's a 1099-INT form. And then there's your pension and annuity income, excluding IRAs, and that's reported on a Form 1099-R. So if you have a combination of that income or one of those types of income, then you would qualify for the Direct File option. But they are limited on the tax credits that you can claim with this particular option. So if you are someone who generally files for the Earned Income Credit, the Child Tax Credit, the Credit for Other Dependents, the Child and Dependent Care Credit, Premium Tax Credit, Retirement Savings Contribution Credit, and the Credit for the Elderly and Disabled, all of those credits are eligible for the Direct File option. Now, unfortunately, with the Direct File option, you are not able to itemize. So if this is something that you are someone who usually files for the standard deduction, this is perfect for you. You can also claim student loan interest, educator expenses, and health savings account contributions. Now, please remember, you will need an online account to use Direct File. We'll get into that later about setting up an ID Me account. Now, we always recommend filing electronically your tax return. It's faster, it's more accurate, and it's secure. If you've been hesitant in the past to switch over from paper, now is the time to make the move. There are many choices when it comes to using your filing your personal tax return, many software programs. If you don't qualify for any of the free tax help that we just discussed, there are several other software programs that you can use, as well as going directly to a tax preparer. And if you go to irs.gov, they do have a listing of reputable tax preparers in your state that they do recommend. Another thing that we recommend is that if you do file, you should be requesting your refund to be direct deposited. That again is a surefire, the fastest way to receive your refund. Generally speaking, if you electronically file, there are no issues with your tax return. It is estimated that you should receive your refund from electronically filing, usually within about 3 to 4 weeks. And if you do owe at the time of filing, we also recommend using our direct pay service. For direct pay, there are several different ways that you can pay with this option. And this information and this link is available at irs.gov. And how it works is once you set it up, they're able to take your payment directly out of your checking or savings account at no cost to you. All right, reporting income. This is a big one and it causes delays because a lot of times we're so anxious to get our taxes filed that sometimes we don't wait on our income documents. And taxpayers have been known to use their last paycheck stub. And unfortunately, it causes so many problems because it typically does not match your actual W-2 that gets reported to the IRS. So your employer, they had up until January the 31st. So hopefully everyone has received their income statements by now. If not, you can contact the IRS directly. Their customer service number is 1-800-829-1040, and they will give you the provisions that are need to be taken if you did not receive it. They can also check to see if that payer has already reported that information as they should have to the IRS, because that information became available in March 1st with the IRS. Now, if you receive income from sales of goods or services, be sure to include the income on your return. In 2025, you will receive a 1099-K if you had any number of transactions that totaled $5,000 or more from a third-party payment network or platform. Some of these might include auction sites, car sharing, or ride-hailing platforms like Lyft or Uber, craft or maker and marketplaces, crowdfunding platforms, freelance marketplaces, or online marketplaces. Sorry, you guys, give me 1 second. My video. My office thinks I'm not here. I'm too still for you guys. I apologize. So again, if you have done any of these outside platforms, just be aware that if you made more than $5,000, that you will get that 1099-K, and that income is taxable and should be reported on your return. What we always say, when in doubt, you should always either contact the IRS customer service to determine if the income is taxable, or you can go to irs.gov website and look up taxable income, and it will give you a list of income that in fact is taxable and should be reported. So as I stated, the reason that we like to impress upon you to make sure that you in fact wait for those income statements is because we have a division within the IRS called the IRS Integrity and Verification Operations. What do? Well, they compare your income and your withholding reported on your tax return to the forms W-2 and other information returns that were submitted by the payer. They do this to ensure that accurate returns are processed to help identify fraudulent refunds before refunds are issued. We find a lot of tax return processing delays because the income claimed on the tax return does not match the payer information reported to the IRS. So when in doubt, make sure that you are that you are in fact filing with the documentation that was prepared, that was submitted to you by your employer, and that everything is math verifying when you go to file, so that you don't have any of those delays regarding any discrepancies with your income. As they like to say, measure twice, cut once. Consider verifying your tax returns against your IRS tax records, as I stated. I also advise you guys that records are available online around March 1st with the IRS. So if you believe that you had employers that did not issue you your income statements, you can request your income transcripts from the IRS directly, and you can use those transcripts to aid you in preparing your tax returns. And we're going to show you a little bit of what the transcript will look like. So this is a copy of what a wage and income transcript looks like. It will have a portion of your Social Security number listed. It will reference the year that you're requesting it for. So if you were requesting it for this year, it will say 2024. It'll state the date that you received it, that you requested it, and the date that they processed your request. And on this slide, it basically goes into what it would actually show, similar to your W-2. It'll show your total wages, your total federal income tax withheld, your Social Security wages, and your Social Security tax withheld. As you notice, it only shows federal income tax withheld because we are, in fact, a federal agency, and we don't have the state information available to provide. But you can also request your income transcripts from the state of Maryland as well, and they have similar transcripts to provide you with that would have that state withholding available. The next slide just goes into more, more items that would be listed on your W-2. That this is how it looks in transcript form. So again, please double check that your information is correct for you, your spouse, and your dependents. It's very important that you make sure that you check the names, spelling, the taxpayer identification number, Social Security number, dates of birth, as well as your bank account information. These are very pertinent items that you need to make sure that they are correct and accurate. Otherwise, you can have some processing delays, or there could be an issue with your funds going into the wrong account. And that unfortunately would be considered human error, or that would be a civil issue if you in fact put your wrong bank account on there. IRS cannot make the bank return the funds. We can ask nicely, but unfortunately there have been situations where it goes into someone else's account and they clear those funds immediately. So please, if anything, make sure that your bank account and your routing number are accurate when filing. All right, so now we're going to get into some credits that you're eligible for, that you could be eligible for. If you go on our website at irs.gov or taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, there is a link where you can see what credit and deductions you may be eligible for as an individual. So right now we're going to go into what we call the family-related credits. The first one is the earned income credit, and we're going to go a little bit into the requirements. So as you can see, With the Earned Income Credit, there is actually an EITC assistant tool that we have on the IRS.gov website that will go and it will check the income limits to determine whether or not you're eligible. I can't give you a set figure because it does vary based on your filing status. So we definitely recommend that you go and try this tool to see whether or not you're eligible for the Earned Income Credit. Now, you must have Social Security number for yourself, your spouse if filing married, filing joint, and all of your qualifying children before the due date of the return, including extensions. For the Earned Income Credit, the following filing statuses are eligible, and that's married filing joint, head of household, qualifying widower, or single. As you can see, the only filing status that is not eligible for the Earned Income Credit is married filing separate. You must also be a U.S. citizen or a resident alien all year. You cannot file the Form 2555, which is reporting of foreign earned income. And if you do not have a qualifying child, you must meet the rules to claim the Earned Income Credit without a qualifying child. Now, listed below are the qualifying items, are just some of the main resources that you definitely want to preview before you file your tax return. You want to make sure that you are showing proof of earned income. You want to make sure that you have investment income of $11,000 or less. Making sure that you have a valid Social Security number by the due date of the 2024 return, including extensions. And you want to make sure that you meet the adjusted gross income for filing your return status. And again, you need to just make sure that you are a U.S. citizen or resident alien for the full tax year. Now, some of the common errors with the Earned Income Credit is claiming a child who does not meet residency or the relationship requirement. With residency, they need to live with you for more than 6 months of the year, and they have to be a qualifying relative. Unfortunately, sometimes, people will claim dependents because, they care for them as if they are their son or daughter. But if you have not actually, gone to the courthouse and if you have not a marriage certificate and they are not actually related to you by marriage or by blood, unfortunately, they will not qualify for the Earned Income Credit. Does not mean they may still qualify for some other credits later down the line that we'll speak on, but for the Earned Income Credit, they do have to be a qualifying relative. Another error is reporting income or expenses, particularly on the Schedule C, incorrectly. Filing as single or head of household when married. This is a big one. Your name and your Social Security number are not matching. If you do not have your Social Security card, it's very important to reference or contact Social Security to make sure that when you are filing, that you are filing exactly as it states on your Social Security card. A lot of times this may fall into place for people who've gotten married and they have not changed their maiden name on their Social Security card. So when they go to file, they can still file jointly, but they will need to file with that maiden name if that's what their Social Security card is currently showing. And as always, you can always go to IRS.gov for more information in regards to the Earned Income Credit, the deductions, as well as the eligibility. Here again, it's just telling you about that link that we have on IRS.gov that goes into the eligibility for the credits and deductions. And then we're going to get into another one of our credits. And this is the credit for other dependents. So the credit for other dependents is a tax credit available to taxpayers for each of their qualifying dependents who cannot be claimed for the child tax credit. The maximum credit is $500 for each dependent who meets certain conditions. And these conditions are the dependents are 17 or the age of 17 and older. The dependent has their own individual taxpayer identification number. The dependent's parents or other qualifying relatives supported by the taxpayer. And the dependent is living with the taxpayer and they're not related to the taxpayer. So this is what I was speaking of when I said that it's a possibility that you can have dependents. You may not be eligible for the earned income credit, but you would be eligible for the credit for other dependents, even if they're not related to you, but they lived in your household and you took care of them. And just a little bit of background, the credit can be claimed if the person cannot be claimed as a dependent on anyone else's return. They cannot be claimed for the child tax credit, and they must be a U.S. citizen or resident alien. Next, we have the education expenses. So in order to claim the education expense, you should get what they call a 1098-T. This is another income document that you should have gotten by January 31st. If you have not received this yet, then you need to contact the school's institution directly to get a copy of that document before claiming the credit on your return. Next, we have the premium tax credit, also known as the PTC. It is a refundable credit that helps eligible individuals and families cover their premiums for their health insurance purchased through the health insurance marketplace. If you didn't know, in certain circumstances, you may also qualify to get an advance payment of this credit. And if you do get the benefit of the advance credit in any amount, you must reconcile the total credit you're eligible for when filing your taxes, and that's done on the Form 8962. If you have health insurance through the marketplace, you will get a Form 1095-A, and this will aid you in completing the Form 8962 for the credit. We just recommend that when you file to make sure that you are attaching all forms and schedules before you submit the tax return to avoid any delays. So as we spoke earlier in reference to the direct file, also this is something that you need to have to get online account transcripts, is setting up what they call the ID.me account. In order to set up this account, you must be 18 years or older. You must prove your identity using your state or federal identification, like a driver's license or passport. You must take a video selfie to match your face to the picture on your identification. And if you are unable to do a video selfie, then you would have to call an ID.me agent who can confirm that your face and your identification match. So as we stated, to set it up, you just have to have a current driver's license, state identification, passport or passport card, access to internet access, a working camera on your phone, tablet, or desktop, a U.S. phone number that accepts texts or phone calls. And if you still need further assistance, if you're unable to do it directly yourself online, they do have agents that you are able to call directly that can help you further this process. Now, if you still are old school and want to file a paper return, you must make sure that you are filing at the appropriate address. They have two different mailing addresses versus if you are filing with a payment or filing without a payment. So just make sure that you are using the appropriate address when going to file by mail. That information is available at irs.gov, and it is based on the state that you live in and the form that you are filing. If you need instructions or notices in your language, or you need interpreter help, or you need other IRS or TAS communications in a different format, we do have a process in place where you can obtain that information. If you go to irs.gov or taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, they have what we call a language preference. Right now, IRS has over 20 plus languages that you are able to be able to get certain documents in for translation, or be able to pull them and download them in those particular languages. Right now, TAS has about 13 or so or more languages. But if you, in fact, still are not finding the language that you need, we have a form. This is the Schedule LEP that you can file with your tax return. And what that will do is it basically will indicate what your preference is and what language. So when you go to file for the next year, these documents will already be mailed to you in your preferred language. And this form could also be filed electronically as well. Now, IRS does have what we call interpreter services. So if you speak English or Spanish, then that you can always contact our general 800-829-1040. But if you need assistance in any other language, you may call 833-553-9895 for assistance. And they have more than 350 languages that they have to support that particular phone service of professional interpreters. Now, we also have a way of obtaining documents in an alternative format. So if you need something in Braille or large print, you can go to irs.gov. You can download it from the accessibility forms and publication page on irs.gov, or you can actually call 1-800-829-3676. And you can speak with a representative, and you can tell them specifically what type of alternative format you are needing. And that also works for notices and letters that the IRS may mail out to you. If you need that alternative format, then you would just use the form 9000, and you would attach that with your tax return, and you would mail it into the IRS separately with your other than with your return. And the IRS, once they obtain it, they know that any future correspondence should be sent to you in that particular format. And if you're unable to mail it, you can also call them as well at 800-829-1040. And they also have a helpline, 833-690-0598. And that's if you have any questions regarding IRS accessibility services. Now let's talk about how you can help yourself. If you go to taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, we have a self-help information system that has many tax-related topics with step-by-step instructions on how to work the problem through with the IRS. Now, TAS's website is designed to help taxpayers and tax professionals alike, and parts of it are available in Spanish as well as English. You can even view it on your mobile device. This particular screenshot on this slide is just showing you the main Get Help page. So if you select View All Help, you will be presented with a search box where you can search for a specific topic or an IRS notice number. Below the search box are various topics you can select to get help with. Now, please note Not every topic is shown on this screen, but there are many more that you can choose. They also have, you see this green bubble? This is the TAS Virtual Assistant. The TAS Virtual Assistant can help you guide you to correct information by giving you specific prompts and identify steps to take. Now, not shown in this section are what we call our digital tools called estimators. And they can help you with determining your eligibility for certain healthcare related tax credits and estimate the total credit you may claim. And lastly, at the bottom of the page are two buttons that will take you to a listing of your rights as a taxpayer and a Contact Us page. Now, we always recommend that you always try to solve your problem with the IRS first. But if you can't, then come to the Taxpayer Advocate Service. We help all types of taxpayers, including individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and etc. So if you can't resolve your tax problem through normal IRS channels, again, we may be able to help you. You may be eligible for our help if your IRS problem is causing you financial difficulty or significant costs. If you're eligible for our help, your advocate will be with you at every turn, and they'll do everything possible to resolve your issue. And our services are free. There are no charge or fees for our help for anyone. We have over 25 years of experience resolving IRS issues that will allow us to effectively advocate for you. If you are wanting to know whether or not you have an issue that does meet our criteria, if you go to our website, taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, they have a tool that is a qualifier tool that you can kind of type in your issue, and it will advise you on whether or not it is something that meets our criteria, or it may advise you on what actions you need to take first to try to resolve your issue. I know we've covered a lot of information. If you remember nothing else from today's presentation, remember this. The Taxpayer Advocate is your voice at the IRS. And for more information, you can always go to our website, and we have that information in Spanish as well as in English. And we would like you to help spread the word. Tell your friends, family, or anyone else who might need help with the IRS, with any type of IRS federal related tax issue. So go to our website and see if they qualify for our assistance. Thank you all for attending today. I know we're going to be taking some questions, and I know Erica will get those. We'll address those quite shortly. But again, thank you so much for your time and your patience while I delivered this presentation for you guys today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson, for that informative presentation. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our constituents did too. We will move on to our question and answer portion. And as mentioned, these were pre-submitted. So we went ahead and picked a few. So we'll start with a question from Judith in Silver Spring. She writes, I owe $8,000. I'm nervous about sending the payment in next week. Will it be acknowledged? Do you recommend sending it? What are best practices?
All right, Judith. So if you may recall during the presentation, there are numerous ways that you can actually make your payment. So I do understand, being a little concerned about mailing it, just due to the current nature of the IRS and, some of the delays that, been going on in the past. They do not give you an acknowledgement if you mail a payment in, unfortunately. I would say that if you do choose to mail that payment in, usually give it about 3 to 4 weeks. If it hasn't cleared your account, then that's when I would probably start calling the IRS and inquiring about, the status of that. But what I would definitely recommend, because that we now have so many online payment options, that I would suggest that you go to the IRS and go through our direct pay option. And that way it will come directly out of your bank account and you'll get acknowledgement right away. So that is definitely the preferred method. By all means, you are still eligible to, able to mail the payment in. And from what I hear, I don't think it's necessarily delays with, them accepting payment, but it just may be some delays with it actually getting processed and, posted to your account. So if you're not afraid to do it electronically, that is just your surefire way and the best way to make that payment and get that acknowledgement right away that IRS has received it.
Great. And what do you think about doing some sort of like mail tracking for the payment? Is that helpful?
I honestly would not wouldn't waste the money
Okay.
because if the payment is lost, unfortunately, even with them tracking it,
Hmm.
they still can't apply the funds if they're unable to locate the payment. But I will say that generally as far as the IRS receiving it, that typically isn't an issue. It's more or less how you're documenting your payment. So just make
Hmm.
sure that when you're submitting that payment, you're either submitting it with a payment voucher that has your social security number, the tax period, and everything that it needs to be applied to. And if not, if you are sending that payment in solo without that voucher, you need to make sure that you are in fact listing your social security number because that in fact is your account number. And you also need to list the tax year that you want it to be applied to so that you won't experience any of these issues or delays.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on to our second question.
Sure.
This one comes from Sean, also in Silver Spring. He asked, how does one file taxes on the IRS website without having to use an app like TurboTax?
All right, Sean. Well, great question. I think we may have covered it a little bit earlier, but
Hmm.
that with all of the new options that IRS now has, where you can free file, you can direct file if eligible, those you don't necessarily have to have TurboTax or Tax Act. They will directly to any of the software programmers that, depending on your eligibility. Or if in fact you are eligible for the IRS direct file and you can do it yourself, you can do it directly through IRS. So you do not need any apps to go about filing. Now, if you unfortunately don't meet any of the free file or direct file eligibility, then you may want to look at, seeking professional tax assistance if you do not want to go to one of those programs and file on your own.
Got it. So we have time for one more question.
Great.
And so that question is from Diane in Rockville.
All right.
She asked, do I have to pay a fee when I file for an extension?
Do you have to pay a fee? Of course. No, 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 no. I'm kidding. No, there is no fee associated with filing an extension. Actually, if you go to irs.gov, you are able to go and file that form electronically. Here we go again. Sorry, guys. You
It's
are able to
okay.
go in and file that form electronically for free. The form can also be mailed at if you're choosing. But no, there is definitely no fee behind it. It just needs to be filed by April the 15th, and it will give you an extension out through October 15th.
Got it. Yes. Awesome. Better safe than sorry with that too, guys.
Yes,
So if you think you
yes.
might need it, just go ahead and ask for it.
Yes, when in
Um,
doubt, go ahead and file it. I've had people file it and then they're able to get it in by the 15th, but you never know. So,
mhm.
it's better to have it filed than to not file it at all and need it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Jackson, for answering our constituents' questions and for all the assistance you and your lovely team provide to the constituents of MD '08, Maryland 8th Congressional District all year long. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all the constituents who joined us today. If we didn't get to your question because of time, please feel free to follow up with our office and I'll do my best to get a response to that question for you. If you missed part of today's event or would like to revisit it, I know it was a lot of information, or you would like to send it to somebody who you think it might be useful for, a recording of this webinar will be made available on Representative Raskin's YouTube page. So please be on the lookout for that. And again, feel free to contact us for that as well. Lastly, to reiterate what Rep. Raskin said at the beginning of today's program, if you are a constituent of Maryland's 8th Congressional District and are experiencing any issue with the IRS, please contact our office. Please spread the word as well. You can call us at 301-354-1000. Again, that's 301-354-100, or by visiting our website, raskin.house.gov, and selecting help with a federal agency. Thank you again, and happy filing. Have a great tax season, everyone. We'll see you next year. Thank you.